I'll press record. Well, welcome everyone. My name's Alison Watts and I'm here on behalf of the Southern Cross Postgraduate Association, and we're very happy to be working with Liz McLardy once again on a series of 3 financial wellbeing workshops. So today is part 1, and in the chat box I'll post the links to register for part 2 and 3. So part 2 is next Wednesday, again at 10:30, and part 3 will be the following Wednesday. So they kind of work together as a set of 3, don't they, Liz?
Yes, they do. Yeah, okay. And I'll explain that in a little bit too. So, but if you can't come to all of them, if you register for them, you'll receive the recording, and at least you'll still be able to work through the material and keep up to sort of in track with them all. So yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
Okay, well, over to you. Thanks, Liz.
Lovely. Okay, thank you. So good morning, everyone. We were just checking in with everyone to say it is a little bit crazy at the moment with time changes, people in different states, different weather conditions. There's a whole lot going on for everybody. So really acknowledge all of that's going on. But just such a delight to have so many of you here joining in with the first part of the financial wellbeing series that I've started. So this is the 3rd time I've run this series. So we actually started it for the first time about this time a year ago, which was really exciting, and it was so successful and we had some really great feedback. So we keep running it a couple of times a year just to try and pick up new students to be obviously caught up into the same, giving you the same information. It's really about setting a foundation. It's a beginner foundation financial wellbeing webinar series. But in saying that, of course, we're all coming in as well from different backgrounds and situations in terms of our personal finances. So the tools and the skills that you will learn will be valuable no matter where you are in your journey. But it's going to be really targeted at that entry point, somebody who's maybe not really, into financial tools and terms. I'm trying to make it as accessible to everybody as possible. So big welcome to everybody. And I always like to do my welcome slide and just acknowledge all the variety of students and what you're studying and your backgrounds. It's always such an honour to be able to present these webinars to you as a group, and just, want to welcome everybody. So just a little bit about me, if you haven't come across me before. I'm noticing quite a few familiar faces and names, which is always so nice. Just a little brief background about myself, just so you have an understanding of who I am and why am I here and how am I here to talk about financial well-being. So my background is as an accountant. So I've had about 15 years in corporate as a corporate management accountant. So really helping businesses to manage their finances, make good informed decisions about how to use their resources. After some time in corporate, I moved into higher education, so teaching the CPA program, but also helping at Southern Cross University as well as a unit assessor lecturer in accounting, and I've recently moved into Swinburne University, so really in the education literacy sector. And I guess part of my capacity in running these workshops as well is I run my own small business consulting, teaching financial literacy and financial coaching, primarily to women, to help support any gaps in knowledge, to really help empower you to be able to, enjoy your financial decisions and life, and really arm you with some good tools and techniques. So that's just a little bit about me. Before the workshop today, so I know, yes, this is our first one, and what I'd like to just start with to really just get a little bit of feedback from you all as well, is interested to hear, if you'd like to share in the chat or use your microphone if you're comfortable, how you would describe your relationship with money at the moment. So what would be maybe some key words that you might use, or anybody like to share if they feel comfortable in this forum, obviously noting that we are recording, but whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Well, I guess I'll get started since nobody talks.
Thanks, Isabel.
I used to be an introvert and I had to learn how to be an extrovert, so I'm happy with that. Yeah, well, I have a little bit more. Before, when I was in the previous workshop with you, I basically had zero. And I feel that I am in kind of like maybe 50% at the moment. So that's not bad.
Yeah.
I am more aware of what I spend, where things go. So yeah, it makes me feel much more comfortable.
Okay, lovely. And just for a little bit of background for people, so Isabel has come to a couple of workshops before and had some one-on-one sessions with me, and we've done a lot of actually what I'm going to take you through today. So so it's really nice, a little bit of promotion there too, but she was somebody who really felt like when we were describing our money personality in an early webinar, was somebody who felt like they really put their head in the sand, didn't want to know about money, felt perhaps overwhelmed, blocked by it, which is really what I would say is probably really the most common reaction I would receive from people around how they would describe their relationship with money. Another one would be that it's very complicated, which it is, because money touches on so many parts of ourselves and our lives, our relationship with others. So I firstly wanted to acknowledge that it feels like a complicated topic. But what I'm aiming to do through this 3-part series is to give you some tools and techniques to really anchor you in some structured approaches that can help you give you some information and a clear structure. So as Isabel was sharing there, that she's worked through some of these worksheets that I'm going to show you today and we'll continue to use over the next 3 weeks to help you to understand what is your financial situation, you personally. We often get so stuck, listening to what everybody else is doing and, taking on, hearing what they're doing, what decisions they're making. We forget to stop and actually take stock of where am I? What is my situation? And what is it that I want to do? So that's what we're really going to focus on. And I'm hoping that the tools that I share with you, you'll be able to then take on as your own and really see the value that they'll bring. So wonderful. Just checking the chat if there was anybody that had said so. Okay, so Alison, you're just sharing that you were you're more of a saver at the moment, so that's also giving a little bit of a taste to what your relationship with money is like. And I know it's a funny kind of question. We often don't think about it as a relationship as such, but sometimes it's worth doing that. It's something we often have negative associations with, but if we can sort of be a little bit more playful with it and bring some different energy to the conversation, I think that's quite helpful. So thanks for sharing, Isabel and Alison. So what I was, I guess, really to start off with, as I've just acknowledged, we're often feeling overwhelmed to our financial situation, where we can kind of see the images that I've got here on the left-hand side, that capturing that emotion of frustration, of despair, sometimes just not knowing what to do. And what I'm hoping to achieve with these 3-part webinar series is to move you towards the right-hand side where you're feeling much more calm. You've got a structured process, where to sort of put your thoughts and emotions about money, how to actually structure some of the decision-making. So it's that structured, systematic approach, which I'm going to share with you, which will turn this topic into something that's overwhelming, into something that will be a source of strength. So that's my aim for all of you. So we've got the 3 weeks ahead of us. The first one where we are now is we're wanting to, so at the end of this workshop, I want you to all be clear that you have the tools. So I know we haven't shared the Excel financial wellbeing worksheets with you yet, but we'll send them out to you along with the link to the recording, so you can actually, so what you'll see today, you can actually take for yourself and start to customize and modify and really play around with to make those worksheets your own. So that's what we're going to do today, is really understand, look at how do I know where I am right now? Like, what is my financial situation? You might have all sorts of thoughts and feelings about it and ideas about what you might do, but really important to take stock, and a great time of year to be doing it too. So if you're doing this now, October, November, you're going to get your head clear, all ready for the new year as well, and be just one step ahead of everyone else. So that's what we're doing this week. Next week, we're going to then say, okay, so once we're clear on where we are, where is it that you would like to be in the next 12 months? So set some really great, specific, short 12-month goals for yourself. So again, you'll have a structure in which you can do that. We'll talk about what are some of the key aspects, what are some of the things that you should be focusing on depending on your financial situation. So I'll give you some sort of high level guidance around that. And then in the third one, it's okay, how are you going to get there? So we'll look at what are some of the tools and strategies you can do to actually achieve those goals. So that's how the 3 weeks are going to work. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, if you can't come to all 3, it's okay. But you can listen to the recording and at least still follow along with the worksheets that you've been provided. And I'm here, of course, as well, if you need to connect with me one-on-one, and we can help support you as you're working through them. So let's begin. And as advertised in this webinar, the first one, I'm going to share with you 3 financial tools. So we've got, just under an hour to do this. And what I want you to be clear on is that by the end of this, it's not about you being capable or competent in using those tools necessarily, but I want you to be aware of what they are and the value that they can bring. So you're going to be motivated to go and get that worksheet and start using it for yourself. Okay, so the first one is that I'm going to show you how to create your own personal balance sheet. So you, obviously being an accountant, balance sheets are our bread and butter, but for some people it might make your stomach churn. I'm hoping that when you see the value of it, and if you've been walk through it, I've seen so many clients use it, and just being able to sit with it and see, okay, this is where I am. The clarity it brings, as Isabel was just sharing, that you finally know, okay, this is what I own, this is what I owe, and then the net of that is my position, and you can actually see it all in one place beautifully. And then you can also use that ongoing to track how you're progressing towards your goals. So we'll see that the tools you learn this week, you're actually going to continue to use, and they help to inform you of your progress, but also help you to make further decisions in the future. So the first one is the balance sheet. The second is what some people might not necessarily typically think of in terms of being a financial tool, but really important in the mental health space and the linkage with money and financial life as well, is the tool of the emotional audit. So I've created a space in these worksheets where a bit of a structure, but obviously you can play around with it and make it your own, but a space where you can actually capture and reflect your emotions and your thoughts about money. So really important if you can be doing that and be aware of what are the most common or frequent thoughts that I'm having or emotions I'm having around money right now. Because this first week is all about increasing our awareness of both what our financial situation is, but also what are our thoughts and feelings and emotions around it. Because it's once we have that awareness, we can then next week look at, okay, what are things about that I might like to change? And we can actually start and make some plans and look at how we can change them. So really important to do that emotional audit. And just want to note here as well, I know we've just got 3 weeks to work through each of these things, and they do need time and care. So I don't want you to kind of pushing through and rushing them, but maybe to work through them so you have the skill to use the tool, but know that you can come back to them and you can spend time, particularly in the emotional piece as well. It takes time for you to even become aware of what is my thoughts, what are my emotions around money at the moment, what's triggering me, and then developing a little bit of, a space and a ritual around being able to capture that. The third tool, which is again a bit more financial, is the trailing 12 months. So at this beginning stage, really important to be able to look back 12 months, the last 12 months, and see, okay, where has my money gone to? Firstly, what money has come in? So what money have I earned, and where has my money gone? So I know some of these can be time-consuming tasks, and this is the most time-consuming in terms of, the sort of the financial analysis, going into your bank account, adding up all your expenses. But it's so valuable because the information that it will give you is going to help inform the next 3 weeks or the rest of your life. You're going to have that information because you're going to see, okay, I spend my money on X, Y, and Z. I didn't realize I spent so much on that. I don't want to spend that much on that anymore. So I'm going to do something about it. Or you can see, oh, actually don't spend much money on this, and that's really important to me. I do want to channel some of my money to that. So this week is all about just bringing that awareness to what your financial situation is. What are your emotions? What's your emotional landscape in terms of your money? And then also just looking back that 12 months to see, it will give you further information about your relationship with money. You may think that you're a saver, but then when you do the trailing 12 months, maybe you're not, or the other way around. So it's a really good, you're actually getting some quality data to make some good decisions in the future. That's the key thing. So, and I guess this is just another piece to sort of to lead us into the first tool. By understanding our financial position, we can bring more calm and confidence to our relationship with money, make informed decisions, and seek help if we need it. So that's really the essence of what we're doing in this first week, understanding our financial position. So the first tool, and what I'm doing here is I want to show you what the tools look like. I've just got little screenshots of them here. I don't want to jump straight into Excel just yet. I'd rather introduce them to you as pictures so we don't get overwhelmed. If we've got time at the end and if people would like me to jump into the Excel spreadsheet, I can. But what I'm really showing you is what is in that spreadsheet, and you'll be able to go in and actually have a play around yourself. The mechanics behind the spreadsheets aren't complicated. I didn't want to over formula them. I really want you to go in and actually think about what is it that I'm adding up here? What do I need to multiply this by? They're simple calculations, and of course check them with me if you want, if you need that little bit of support. But it's really just, I've just given you the shell or the structure to help you to put these figures in their place. So what we firstly have here, what we're going to do, the first tool is that personal balance sheet. So it's allowing you to sort of increase and bring your awareness to, okay, what is my financial situation? And some of you might already have a sense of this. You know, you log into your internet banking these days and they do some of those calculations for you. Although a lot of the time, many of us are across different banks, so we don't get that holistic view that is also not connected to any other technology. I like using Excel. These are tools that I personally use myself and use with my clients, as I've shared, but I like to do it this way because it's not an app. It's not connected. My data isn't exposed. This is just me in my own private space calculating my own financial situation. But everybody, if you have apps that you're comfortable using and you're getting this information accurately from them, by all means use them. You don't need to do what I do, but this is just sharing, you know, use a tool that allows you to understand what is my financial situation. So the steps that you would go through in creating this is you'll see that it's got two sections. And again, the way in which it's presented, please feel free to modify it, change colors, move it around, what works for you. It's really got to make sense to you. But what you're trying to do, what the essence of it is that you're really listing what are all of the things that I own. That's the first part of this tool. So you might have, so in the example I've got here, you might have a debit account with a balance in it. So you'd log on to internet banking, find out what that is, and you're doing it for a given point in time. So this is for October. You know, obviously you do it for each month, but you would do it for the end of October that we're in now might be a good day, or you can do it today and you just put in the date. So you write out, okay, what is my balance in my all of my accounts? You might have, which I will be encouraging everybody to have, is what I call a just in case fund or an emergency amount. And we can talk about, you know, what the value of that typically should be. You might have your superannuation. You may have a home, a car. So all of the things that you own that could be sold, you know, for a value that you would sell as well. And then below this is what you owe. So you may have a credit card that has an amount owing. You're most likely to have your HEX debt amount there as well. If you've got a house, you may have a corresponding mortgage or loan against that. If you have a car and you have a car loan, you would have a corresponding car loan. So that's where you would then have you would sum up. So once you've entered all of the values of those, you would then sum to total what is all of those items that I owe. And then you'll be able to calculate what the net of that is, which is simply taking what you own minus what you owe. And then that's going to show you, that's going to give you a position as to whether you have more assets than liabilities, or you own more than you owe, which is a good thing. Or if you're currently in a debt situation where you're wanting to then, one of your priorities as we work through next week might be to eliminate that debt and look at strategies to do that. So this is really going to help inform you in terms of what your strategy and goals are going to be next week as well. So having that clear understanding, right, am I in debt? Am I sort of stabilizing, or am I in a situation where I'm wanting to accumulate and build wealth? And I'll really try and structure next week's goal setting around those 3 general stages, and what are some of the good sort of goals that you could set around those. So how does everybody feel about completing your own personal balance sheet in terms of the mechanics of that? Does it seem quite straightforward? Any questions about what you might include? Yeah, lovely. Thanks, Matt. So yes, awesome. So it's nice. I've got a couple of students who have gone through this before as well, which is great, and nice to have a bit of a refresher and perhaps a bit of a motivator. I know with all of this as well, it is hard to keep motivated, and that's partly can be part of my role as well. If you want me to help you out one-on-one, is to keep you accountable and you know, check in with your financial goals and to have just even a quick 15-minute catch up just to see how are you doing and just to have a think through something. So yeah, great that you're feeling really confident using this now too, Matt. So you're would you say I'm trying to, I guess, think to those who maybe don't like Excel. Would you feel like the spreadsheets, are they easy to use? How did you go?
Hi, Liz. Sorry,
I
will
okay.
talk in the video, but look, like any skill, it's just practicing and yeah, building the confidence to use it. So at first I got overwhelmed by all the grids and the function bar at the top, because I use Microsoft. And I think you can do, there's another one on the Apple version. It's not called Sheets, is it? Might be called Sheets.
I think it is Sheets as well.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And there's a Google one as well. So yeah.
Yeah, right. There's all the different companies ones. I mean, to answer your question, it's becoming easier and easier. Yeah. And I'm not all over like the shortcuts, like the kind of keyboard shortcuts, but I just it's just intuitive. It's like the best advice for something, this is very rudimentary coding. My best advice for rudimentary coding is to just do something as if you're reading a book.
Yeah.
Like, you know, follow the process as if you're reading a book, and it's like, don't overcomplicate it and don't put yourself into it. It's just, it like follows algorithms. So like if you want to achieve a function, it's just basically you go through what I don't know. That sounds a bit.
That does make sense, but a great point there too, is we don't overcomplicate it. And I think that would probably also be a really common reaction from people to that they kind of overthinking it or trying to be too complicated with Excel. And I really want to make sure that was a good reminder to just make it simple. It's not about trying to be smart with Excel, and actually stepping through it and not trying to put in too many formulas helps you to slow down and think about what is it that I'm actually entering, what does need to be added together, are these figures correct? Because what we're trying to achieve is know how to use the tool, know how to enter in, because you're going to use this ongoing. You will update it to give yourself feedback about how you're progressing. So just enter in the data, and probably on another level as well as you're doing it in this first week. This week is all about awareness and observation. Try not to get caught up in the emotional triggers of what you're doing, because as you're checking into your account balances, you might see something and you might be like, oh, I thought it should be higher than that, or oh gosh, I still owe so much on that credit card. So be aware of those emotions and watch them, but don't get drawn down into them and absorbed in them this week if we can, because I know that this is quite a heavy week in terms of bringing up a lot of stuff, because you're going to be digging into, okay, what is the situation with my financial life? And you're going to look at your emotions. You're going to look back 12 months, and you're going to feel some positive things and some negative things and some all sorts of combinations. So yeah, I think, don't overcomplicate it. Just go through the steps. As you said, Matt, just go through the steps, is probably the best advice. So hopefully that's looking pretty intuitive for everyone. If you can go away and feel like, right, yeah, I can do that. And if you're feeling a little bit of motivation and inclination, as soon as you get that email from Alison, please jump in, open your worksheets and just type in your numbers, because it's only once you've done it that you will actually feel the value that it brings you. And that having that awareness and understanding of where I am, it's invaluable. It will really, really help you a lot. So that's our first tool. So that's the personal balance sheet. That's the first one that I'd like you to work on before next week. The second one is a little bit less black and white. This is the emotional audit, and I'm not going to dwell and go too deeply. I'm not a psychologist, obviously, and I do have some counselling training as well, but this is an area that I don't, and I really want to be aware of. If there is anyone who is struggling with mental health challenges also that are brought up by some of what they're working with, please seek help. There are so many good services out there that can help you if you are finding that something has triggered something for you, which this most certainly can. Money is the #1 cause of stress amongst the world's population. So that is a resounding statistic. I'm not going to give you the figure. All sorts of people do their research, but I think we can be quite clear that that is one of the #1 sources of stress. Hence why we want to bring these resources to you all as well. It's something that's not talked about, that's not taught. You come away with amazing experiences and skills through your university studies, but we're hoping to just also share some foundational skills that can just help you to have more ease with your financial life and allow you to use those other skills that you're learning from and apply them in your careers. So really in this second tool, the emotional audit, I've created a tab. So as you'll see at the bottom of these slides, I'm kind of highlighting what it looks like in Excel. So you're going to have one Excel file, and I'm trying to make it as simple as that you've just got one place where you're going to keep all your calculations and thinking about money. So you've got one sort of source that you can go to. So on the tab that we've got there, I call it your personal resources, because I like to acknowledge we want to look at, yes, our emotions. What are our most common, frequent emotions right now about money, and our feelings and thoughts, but also some of your habits and beliefs. So some of this does take time. It might not be completely obvious. It may need, you know, the care of somebody close to you, also a conversation that helps you to bring things to awareness as well. But I like here as well that in the third section that I've also included my skills and experiences. So it's really important. We do talk about our financial resources. So what are our bank balances? What's our super balance? How much do we owe? Yes, we need to acknowledge, we need to manage that, but we also need to acknowledge the skills and experiences that we bring to our financial life. And this, I say this with emphasis because a lot of us bring negativity and particularly personal judgment to their financial life and think that they don't have the skills, think that they're not good enough, don't think they're good at money. That's a very common statement that I hear. It may have been, you know, for all sorts of reasons in terms of how it was managed in your household growing up, something that wasn't talked about, may have been your experience with mathematics when you're at school, somebody's judgment of you. So we have all of these judgments of ourselves, and I really want us to also take the time to acknowledge the skills that you have, and you can obviously see them when you're, you know, studying your relevant fields of study. You've got research skills, clearly, communication skills, analysis skills, creativity skills. So thinking about some of those and how you've used them to solve problems. Giving yourself that feedback is really important because they're transferable to your financial life as well. And we need a little bit of support in our financial life and the conversation and the narrative that goes through our heads. So I really want you to take the time to think about that. And I've just given some examples here. Again, I was just doing a pretend sort of example. And I can go through another one next week as well, just to show you how you could fill this out. So I've kind of just included, you know, what are some of your most common emotions? It might be you get frustrated, you get carried away with spending, who do you talk to? You know, it might be your parents or a best friend. how would you like to feel? So here it might be stable, calm, confident. So here you can sort of put in your own words about what you would like to feel. What are some of your habits and beliefs? So you might feel conflicted. So sometimes you really like money, but then you really hate it. You might find it's hard and negative. There's this, common, money's the root of all evil kind of attitude that goes around. Is this really true? What are some of the beliefs you might like to challenge? What are some of the habits that you're most proud of, or moments? We never talk about when we were most proud of our money. When have you heard somebody say that? And this is not something you need to say publicly, but to yourself, even when you do something that you're proud of, where you made a decision, like a wise decision about choosing how you're going to use your money in alignment with your values. You weren't going to just follow along what everybody else did, but no, I chose to do this and I'm proud I did that. Or I was able to not spend on this and I had a bit left over, so I could give a bit of money to that. Or I'm proud because I'm actually here now at this workshop and money isn't something I feel comfortable with, but I'm educating myself and I'm doing something that feels uncomfortable, but I'm really proud of myself. So it's really important that we do, it's that internal narrative that I think that we can all, use a bit of helping hand with. So this is the space in which I would love for you to, add your own thoughts and feelings, beliefs, habits, skills, experiences in whatever way. So I know I've got words and I've got it all very structured here, which may not work for some of you. It might be better to write it out in a journal or to draw or to pull out pictures, whatever works best for you. But it's really a space to make sure that when we're doing this first stage of understanding and wanting to improve our financial life, that we're acknowledging some of the softer skills and the emotions around it too. So whatever works. A lot of my clients also end up using a little bit of a journal. So they have a money journal that's specifically for, they might have a thought or a feeling in the week or get triggered by something and they're noting it down. Obviously the research around, it's not for everybody. I acknowledge that too. Journaling for some is just not the thing, but it might be drawing, or it might be cutting out pictures from a magazine, or it might be just doodling some other way, with paint or however it is for you, to make sure that you're utilizing not just your rational brain, which is often what we think we've got to do when we come to the conversations about money. I want to make sure we're bringing a balanced whole person, and that's really the key here. So yes, so feel free to completely change that tab in the worksheet if it suits you, to really help you get to the bottom of and bringing up that that awareness of what's going on. So the third tool, which is, as Matt very kindly but correctly noted, that there's a lot of boxes and bits and pieces. This is probably the busiest tab and tool. But once you get your head around it and your heart around it, because you'll need to do both because you'll get challenged on both levels, it's a really, really powerful tool that you will continue to use year on, every month. So once you've got your head around it and you've also got it in a structure that you understand and you can follow, you'll see how valuable it is. And I know Isabel's used it as well. So there is a bit of a stage of getting to know it. So if I can do that, try and help you sort of, navigate what we're looking at. What we're doing in this last tool, which we call in finance, is a trailing 12 months. So this is typically something that in finance you will always do to help a business or enterprise look at, okay, what's been achieved over the last 12 months. You want to look at your performance. So you're going to do the same on a personal level. Because if we don't take the moment to sort of stop and look at what we have been doing, we're really missing out on a lot of valuable information that's going to help inform our next decision making, and also some of the structures and systems we can set up for ourselves to support ourselves to achieve goals. Because it's really in looking back over those last 12 months that it will reveal things that you might just not be aware of, because life goes by and you never stop to sit and look, okay, where did everything actually go? So really, really important. And I might just say as a note here that what you are looking at in these three tools are something that I'm hoping that you will be inspired and get a bit excited, maybe, if we're lucky, to go away and do, but to continue to do. So these are tools that I use all the time. I don't stop using them. So it's not that you just have to grin and bear it and just get it done, but once you see the value of them, you'll continue to use them. So what we're looking at here, the aim of the game is we want to know where, like, how much money has come in to your care, and where has that money gone. That's essentially what we're looking at the last 12 months. So to do that, you can obviously run your internet banking statements. You can do that you could do it from today's date and go back to October last year. So to get a good 12 months, because then you're not going to miss, anything, those sort of annual payments that you only pay once a year, all of that kind of stuff. So if you do an internet banking transaction listing over the past 12 months, and then I know that that's an overwhelming task because you're going to have lists of lines and lines of work to do, but you'll soon start to see you'll be able to group them. You can sort them by name, and you'll start to get an idea. And what we're really trying to do is get as accurate as possible in terms of knowing exactly how much money came in, how much money went out. So you'll be able to add up all of the income for the year. And here again, with an example, you would obviously modify and update these to reflect your own situation. So here might be somebody who does get Centrelink payments. You choose what the frequency, so the terms on which you were paid those. If it was weekly or monthly, you would modify it. And what you would then enter is a value. And then you want to then calculate what the total year value is. So if we've got a fortnightly income, we're going to multiply that by 26 fortnights. If it's weekly, it's 52. If it's monthly, it's 12. So I know that's all seems pretty basic, but just as we're going through that to make sure that all those calculations are working. So this is where you'll add in, okay, what were the fixed income sources that I had? So Centrelink might have been some of it, a part-time job might have been a part of it. You might have had, 15 hours doing something, and that paid you a sort of a generally sort of frequent and reliable amount. And then you've got variable income as well. So you may have had sort of ad hoc work that you picked up that you want to include there as well. So this is not, you're not stepping into what is coming or what do I want it to be. We're not going to do that just yet. We're really, and I know it's easy, your mind often jumps forward to that and wants to skip this step because it wants to say, okay, what am I going to do for the next 12 months? But we will get to that. I want you to just make sure that you get a really clear understanding of what money came in and went out over the past 12 months. Just checking in with Kelly's question. Yes, absolutely, Kelly. Yeah, so you can add your rental income. So that would be a fixed amount of income, I would imagine. So you might be getting a certain amount each week from a rental property. So you can include that there. And then any of the rental expenses. This is just showing you half of what's in the worksheet that you'll receive in Excel, and you can absolutely add in different. So I would actually add in a different category as we have here, utilities. I'd probably add in a separate category that would be your rental property, and you might have different expenses there. So you can itemize those and include them as well. So yeah, absolutely. And what's also important to note, and just to be mindful of when you're doing this, is that you want to make sure that all of the income that you're noting here, that it excludes tax. So you want to make sure, and if it doesn't, you need to then have a corresponding tax expense somewhere. So that's just a note to be aware of as well. So what you'll have here is you'll have these all summing together to say, right, okay, so over the past 12 months, I had $18,200 coming into my care through the various jobs that I did and the study that I was doing. So imagine this might be somebody who is studying full-time and this is their situation. And then on the other side, we've got looking at, okay, what are all of the expenses? So this is probably the more challenging when you've got that big transaction listing, but you can also start to see, if you know what your rent is and it was the same all year, well, that will be pretty easy to put in, and it was weekly, you can add that in. But make sure that you're really paying attention to getting this as accurate as possible. So if it was that partway through the rent did go up, that you're getting a good reflection of what your actual expenses were. So that's where you'll include your rent, or it might be a mortgage payment, and all of this can be, customized and edited. You're just going in and changing the names, make them, even the way in which I've ordered them or categorized them, you can modify it so it makes sense to you, everybody's mind, in terms of where these bits and pieces sit. It's really important that it makes sense to you and that it works for you, and you can understand where everything is. So I've just done it in terms of household, having your groceries. So again, this is unlikely. This is looking like an unlikely amount because it's really rounded. You want to go back and maybe do your transaction listing, sort it, even alphabetical, and you might see, all of your Coles transactions or Woolworths or wherever you shop. If you shop at the markets, it can be a bit more tricky because you might be paying cash. But again, just to try and be as accurate as possible in terms of looking at what those amounts were. And then anything to do with your car, make sure you've included all those bits and pieces, healthcare. What I would recommend too, if you're wanting to make sure that you've captured everything, because you might go through all of this and essentially what all of the items that are on your transaction listing for the whole year should be accounted for somewhere here. So you can see exactly where everything's gone. But if you're wanting to do a double check, the Money Smart website, from ASIC, the government website, has some tips around budgeting and that kind of thing, which is helpful when we're looking ahead, but it might also give you a bit of an idea just to check off that you've included everything. But that's something that I can certainly help you with, with a quick look at somebody's worksheets, just to sort of ask a couple of questions just to make sure you haven't missed anything. So then what you'll achieve having done that is, as you can kind of see here, I've just done a little bit of a snapshot, but what we've got summarized is we can see exactly how much money's come in, we can see how much money's gone out, and then what the net impact of that has been. So can anybody describe in this situation what has gone on? Even just talking through it can be helpful, and a helpful reflection, again, something that may trigger you as you do this process yourself, but just at an awareness level, just to describe what's going on. You want to be brave enough?
Yeah.
Kelly.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, Kelly wants to have a go.
Sorry, go, Kelly.
Yeah, quick, Kelly.
I unfortunately think we are not earning as much as we are spending.
Correct. Absolutely spot on. Brilliant. So you can see then, so how much are they spending?
$27,473.
Yes, great. And they've only earned $18,200. So on that face value,
I've got anxiety for them.
I know. But what I like, but sometimes in these situations, this can be a planned scenario. So somebody may have actually built up capital or financial resources to allow this to happen. They made, this may be them being able to study full time, not work much. They know their expenses are a bit high, but maybe they had money. I'm hoping that would be a wonderful scenario. But if it's not, if this is the reality of what's happened and they've actually, so either, what would this mean for somebody? What do you think this would then, their personal balance sheet look like? How do you think they might have been able to fund all of this?
I went on maternity leave and I paid a lot of my things before I went on leave. So I knew that the bills would come in, but they would have been paid off. So I didn't have to worry about like my car stuff. I had already prepaid everything just because I knew I'd only be on half pay for that 12 months. Perfect. So maybe they've done that. Yeah, there could be some of that as well. Yeah, which is really good forward thinking, and something that hopefully when we get to the next stage and we're actually looking ahead for the next 12 months, if that is in somebody's plan, they might be wanting to continue to study or move into a PhD program, whatever it might be. It can help you to be informed and think, okay, right, are there some things that I can pay for now if I want to free up
you know, income and space, you know, for the next couple of years or whatever it might be. So yeah, absolutely. That sounds like a really wise decision too, Kelly. So that's some good, proud money moments there. But yeah, absolutely. So what we might see here, it'd be interesting to know, A, how did this person fund this? So maybe they had put aside money, but it may be as well now that they're in a situation where they do have a lot of credit card debt. So then the moving into next week, it would be looking at, okay, what is that situation? Looking at the personal balance sheet, and that would really be, you know, a priority as well. Looking at how can we try and minimise, if they're still studying, you know, minimise that impact. So wanting to pay off that debt, is there possibility for earning more money? Looking at jobs that might pay more whilst you're studying, and also being able to pay off that debt and ensure that you're not further putting yourself into more debt as well. So great. So at least it sounds like everyone's clear in terms of the mechanics of how this tool can work, which is brilliant. So it's hopefully not worrying about this person's situation, but really, again, really reinforcing that. It's why I also was hesitant sometimes to put examples, because I really like people to do their own and not think about what, you know, other people's situations might be. This is all about you, which we often do spend a bit of time and energy thinking about, where I would really try and direct you towards, you know, really concentrating on your own situation, your own financial resources, your own personal resources. Do this check-in by looking back at the past 12 months. And then when we have all of that beautiful information ready for our workshop next week, we can then start to think, okay, right, this is where I am. This is what's been going on. What is it that I want to change? And I'm going to give you some ideas and clear ways of being able to create some really powerful goals for the next 12 months to really attend to, like, the typical 3 kind of categories of financial situations people could be in, to really try and help you move forward. Because it's those goals, you know, another 12 months could go by and you might just continue in the same habits and maybe not be quite focused on what it is that you're trying to achieve. But it's in this next week where we can set some really good goals and think about for yourselves individually, what is it that you want to achieve? So wonderful. So I'm glad that everyone's feeling pretty good about that last tool. So as I just described, we're going to look at all about financial goal setting next week. And then it's just me also here available if anybody needs to have a one-on-one session, talk through any of the worksheets, have you do that, any coaching, all confidential, and really just there to support you and, you know, whatever it is that you're working through. So we've got a couple of, luckily we've still got 10 minutes on the clock here too, which is lovely. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask them. And if not, that's okay too. And we'll get these worksheets out to you as soon as we can, to try and hopefully wonder how everyone's feeling. Is everyone feeling optimistic and motivated?
Hi, Liz, it's me again. Yeah, I think once you get into it and you find out more about what's happening, yeah, it's not so daunting. The thing is that not knowing, in my case, like not knowing absolutely anything, it was like, you know, going into the dark. So yeah, so the exercise was, you know, very useful for me to find out. And yeah, and thank God I wasn't in the case of that, you know, case study that you just mentioned, because otherwise I would have run for the hills.
Yeah. No, that's so wonderful to hear too, and it's such a lovely, and your experience was, yeah, so clear in that case that, yeah, being, which I'm sure a lot of you may be feeling this way too, or even people listening back to the recording, that you can feel like it's daunting, and if you haven't done anything like this before, but hearing your own personal experience, which should be quite reassuring, that just stepping through that threshold and giving it a go, and you'll actually find that even if it is your situation like what I had illustrated in the case study, I want to make that really clear too, is it's really important that we don't bring too much negativity or positivity to any situation. Your situation is your situation. And knowing what it is the valuable piece. And then it's what we do and the steps we're going to take to move forward from there. So I don't want anybody either who may be in that situation feeling dreadful, because it's also far better that you're here, you're listening to this, you're going to understand it, and now you're going to take actions to actually change that. And that's what's important. So we do all have very different financial situations for whatever reasons, because we don't, it's not just numbers. There's a whole lot of stuff that could have been going on for people's lives, backgrounds. They may have been supporting somebody else. We just don't know. So that's where we've got to be. Please bring that beautiful compassion that you often have towards everyone. Please bring it to yourself and your financial situation too. So don't beating ourselves up about where we are or what we've got. I really, really want you to be, this is increasing your awareness of all of this, but at the same time, those principles of compassionate self-awareness are really, really important, because just make sure everyone's clear on that. I haven't heard from the other Isabel, or did we just lose one other attendee? I don't know how Isabella's felt today as well. Okay, great, lovely. How are you feeling? I know everyone's not always comfortable speaking in these forums, and that's perfectly okay, but just wanted to check in. Are you feeling okay about what we've covered, and if you can, take action from this? Do you feel like you can go away and start putting your own numbers and figures into those worksheets? Okay, beautiful, lovely. Okay, that's nice. So just know I'm here if anybody needs it. Same with you, Kelly. It sounded like you were quite clear in terms of what has been going on for you in the past 12 months anyway. So I'm hoping that have you done anything like this, Kelly, in terms of these kind of worksheets?
No, but I really like money. So I like doing them. So yeah, I like money. I read investment books and I've done accounting and stuff at uni, but I just want to kind of consolidate for myself. Yeah.
And that's it, and simplify, because I can appreciate where you're coming from too, that even being somebody in the finance field and background, we can have so many different ways of looking at things, and we can also be very busy reading and wanting to do different stuff. But there's still so much value in just coming back to the simple facts of where am I, what do I want to achieve, and then what are the best tools and vehicles to get me there? Because the finance world just bombards you with so much, statistics, the best investment strategy, this and that, and you never feel secure, stable, or satisfied. It just feeds this sense of I'm never enough. So I really hope that what I'm showing you in these workshops is to just come back to this simple structure, keep it simple, and it's really going to be in the power of you setting goals and monitoring your progress, which will help you to achieve, the financial wealth that you want to. That's going to be the thing, not necessarily being a finance whiz. So, but wonderful to hear somebody else who likes money and Excel spreadsheets. So I hope these ones work for you, but you might also have additions or updates, and please feel free to bring those to the group next week as well. I'm not the be all and end all either. These are just things that I've accumulated through my experience, but absolutely I don't know everything, and they can be improved too. So if there's something that is really helpful for somebody else, please share them, because we all benefit from it as well. And yeah, that's hoping everyone can come along next week. And it was such a nice group that we've had here today, and sharing and contributing, and I really look forward to catching up next week. Thank you.
Thank you,
great.
Liz.
Great. Thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you all next Wednesday.
Yes, lovely.
See you all. Take care. Thanks.
Enjoy your days, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.